What has been your most lucrative business? I know you've got your casinos, started with your webcams, you've got your Hustlers University and different things. What would you say is the most lucrative business that you've been involved in?
Lucrative all depends on where you are at the time. If you're making no money at all and someone gives you a way of making 10 grand a month, that is the most lucrative business that you've ever run, essentially, because you've increased your net worth by infinitesimal amounts. It's incredible. But so as you can literally map out a timeline of my life, and as and when the years have passed, I've always been making more money the next year than the previous year.
Yeah.
So the most lucrative business I've run in terms of turnover is everything I'm doing now with the online university, university.com and everything else. But that's only because that's where I currently am. I'm not going to take steps back.
Yeah.
So how much money I've made has pretty much always increased. Besides, the last 2 years, it's fluctuated up and down a little bit for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, the most lucrative business I'm in is the business I'm in right now. However, I would say the one that made me my first initial money was sales. I was a salesman. I started off in knocking doors for Anglian Windows, like a lot of young men did in England. I went on then to sell television advertising campaigns back when TV advertising was still something you could sell before the internet really took off. Andrew and a partner, another salesman at the company, went off and branched away and started their own company because the owner was squandering all the money, and I was working for them. And I was bringing in, keep in mind, I'm 19 years old, back in 17 years ago now, and I was bringing in £5,000 to £8,000 every week in sales.
Very good
sales. So that's the first time I ever felt like I had any money.
Yeah.
It went downhill a bit after that when television advertising became a lot less popular. And then I came up from there. But that's the first time when I'd use my debit card for things, but not have to think about how much was on there, which is a very good feeling.
Yeah.
Now I don't care what I buy. And now everyone knows I'm wealthy because Andrew and I are now at the point beyond pretending. You can rent a Lamborghini and take a picture in Dubai and pretend you're rich. But when you have $6 million cars with your name, inscribed on them, and you're flying around private jets everywhere, you clearly have lots of money. So we're at the point past what people can pretend. And yeah, I've never felt richer than when I was maybe 19 or 20 years old, though.
Yeah.
Never, ever. I had no food in the fridge, and then I went from no food in the fridge to I can rent a nice apartment, 4 or 5 grand a month. I can finance a nice car, a Porsche, a BMW M4, things like that. Yeah, I felt very rich.
Well, I remember Andrew Tate back in the day saying that if you're worth about 30, 40 million, the difference between your lifestyle and being a multi-billionaire is very, very small.
Well,
I don't know if you agree with that, or he's changed his mind since now he's worth more.
He said that back in the day. I'd say probably 75 to 90 million is probably the number, to be honest.
Well, inflation is probably the same story.
Yeah, inflation's taken a chunk of everybody's ass. But essentially, what he
But his net worth was probably that at the time, because you always feel like...
Yes, but yes.
He's like, there's no point being richer than me.
But now I've surpassed the 75 to 90 number, certainly. And the idea behind of what Andrew's saying is, the richest people in the world, the billionaires of the world, fly the same way I fly. If they wanted to buy the best car they could only buy a car equal to mine.
Yeah.
There probably are some houses that I couldn't afford. I don't know what the most expensive houses in the world are, but...
Well, there's ones around here for 150 million.
Yeah, I have properties that are very, very expensive. I certainly have more than that worth of property.
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad to hear.
How much more money could I spend if I had it? I'm actually, now that I've bought my yacht, I've run out of things to buy. My yacht's ready in 17 months. It's under construction now. Now I've got that. I've run out of things to spend money on. So now it's just, it's setting a high score, I guess.
Yeah. And if you were to stop, you probably wouldn't worry about money again. Certainly if it was invested right, which I'm sure it is. But you need purpose.
I mean, it's invested right within limits.
Right.
But Andrew and I are spenders. We've always been the spend what you've got guys.
Yeah.
And back in the day, people assumed, probably before we were on the internet, when we were kickboxers, people assumed we were richer than we were because we had a secondhand Aston Martin that cost me £60,000 back in the day. But at the time I bought that, I had £61,000 in my bank account. So I looked a lot richer than I was because I was always the spend what you've got guy. We only started investing when it got to the point where there was nothing else to spend money on.
Really?
So we started buying properties and real estate and a lot of smart things.
Yeah.
And even now, it's at the point where if I see something that's stupid that I can't really afford, I'll find a way to buy it. So yeah, I could be much richer if I had invested much more of my money. Andrew's got 40 diamond watches. We have 71 cars, maybe 72. I don't even know how many cars we've got. Don't need them, can't count them, don't know, couldn't name them, all on a list. So yeah, I make a lot of stupid purchases, but that's my business, and I can do what I want. I earn my own money, and
there's something in that though. I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily advise everybody to do that per se, but I think I see a lot of teachings which is the opposite, which is save up, the millionaire next door type mentality, where if you work really hard and save up £50 a day, when you're 70, you'll be a multimillionaire.
I'm not interested in that.
No, I'm not.
And I never was. I want to have nice things while I'm young. And I'm still relatively young at 36. Certainly for my net worth, I'm very young. And I like being the guy who turns up. I mean, there's 13 or 14 Bugattis in Dubai. I don't know who drives them, but I've seen them driving around. Usually it's someone much older than myself.
Yeah.
I like being the 36-year-old guy who shows up in a $5 or $6 million car.
Yeah.
Or two $6 million cars, one after the other with my brother and I. So I would say money you enjoy wasting is not money wasted. And people always preach against wasting money. It's called, and there's always, broke people who always talk about what they do if they had money. So when I buy something for $5 million, they overlook the fact that I give millions of dollars to charity every year. They overlook this. And they say, oh, that $5 million, you know how many kids you could feed with that? I say, well, I know exactly how many kids you can feed with that because I feed kids in Syria and all across Africa all the time. I'm always doing that. So yes, I do know how many kids I can do with that. Who have you helped today? Mm-hmm. I always joke with them. I say, okay, well, that's a nice pair of trainers you're wearing. That's $300. You could have just bought a pair of shoes for 20 quid. Yeah. What about the homeless kids in your town, in your city? Why don't you give £280 to them? Why are you wearing those shoes? And like, well, that's different. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's your money and you could spend it the way you like. And I do like to help people, but I also like to have lots and lots of nice things. Yeah. And, people don't like cars. Some people don't like the stuff that I buy. That's perfectly fine. And that's their prerogative. But these are things I like and I will not be judged for them. Yeah.
Well, I think it's an abundance mindset rather than having a poverty mindset. I'll be a millionaire when I'm 70 and I'd never buy a nice car because I could give that to a charity. Well, I can do both.
Yeah, exactly.
I can be a millionaire when I'm 70 and I'll be a millionaire now. I can drive a nice car and give to charity now.
Yes.
And I think when you're in sales as well, especially, which is the best business on the planet.
It's the best skill to have.
It is. But when you're in sales, if you're spending money, it's forcing you to be more hungry and make money. So there's something in it.
Exactly. But you have to be careful of people who try to warn you away from making money and try and scare you away from wealth because their arguments are always stupid. Their arguments, forget the charity one I've heard all the time. I just met your wife and son 5 minutes ago. They'll say stupid things like, oh, I don't need a bunch of money because I've got my wife and my son and I'm perfectly happy because I've got my beautiful family. I'm like, you think rich people don't have beautiful families? You think I don't have beautiful families? You think me and Andrew and you don't have kids and wives and women that we love and people that we care about? I would say that my family relationships are better than almost anyone in the world. Like, I'm doing pretty well. But the arguments they come up with against making money are coping mechanisms for themselves and ways to explain their failures to the people around them. Like, don't worry, kids. Oh, yeah, that Andrew Tate guy's driving around that $5 million car. But you've got me, your dad at home who loves you both. And he sits there playing video games all day, smoking marijuana, setting a bad example for his kids. That's not love, one. And two, I love my kids too. And my kids probably love me more than that guy's kids love him. So avoid people giving you stupid arguments to not make money because there is no reason not to do it. Oh, I don't want to live in Dubai. Okay, what do you want to do? Oh, I just want to live in a farm in the forest away from everybody and just grow my own food. Cool, well, that's a $1.6 million investment. So where's your money? Go and do it. I've noticed that you're working a crappy office job in Middlesbrough. Why are you talking about farms? Like, don't tell me what you do if you had money. Why don't you, at least prove yourself? Yeah. And then I will never... When someone actually is wealthy, I'll take Elon as an example, as the wealthiest man in the world and far wealthier than me. He's like, oh yeah, I don't own a house. And then I'll buy a house. And then someone with no money will be like, well, Elon doesn't own a house. Elon could do what he wants. I could do what I want. You could do what you want. Yeah. It's really stupid. And
it is stupid. Yeah. There was a guy actually, I don't know, do you know Simon Squibb? Have you heard of him?
No,
No, it's probably for the best.
Should I have heard of him?
Probably not.
Yeah.
So he does a whole thing about you shouldn't buy property, and I'm in the property industry, so take it maybe a little bit personal.
I bet.
But one of his big arguments is Elon Musk doesn't buy houses, and it's like Elon Musk is Elon Musk. He's buying land in Mars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's built different. He's doing things that we can't even think.
But the average person, if you look on the Sunday Times rich list, they are investing in property. They are. Come on, don't be ridiculous.
No, they should be. And it's an argument to authority. And the problem with arguments to authority is these people always have less authority than I do. So they'll say, well, Elon Musk does this, or Bill Gates does this, or Warren Buffett lives in the same house and drives the same car and invests in the stock market, and you should. I'm like, okay, if you're going to use an argument from authority, as in this guy has more authority, so I should listen to this guy, then why don't you listen to me when I say do X, Y, and Z? Because I have more authority financially and success-wise and fame-wise than you do.
Yeah.
So, but they use it to criticize others, and it's really hypocritical and embarrassing.
If you want to be something, you find someone that's done it already, and that's their opinion. If you don't listen to a fat guy, that's why I listened to you and Andrew when you talked about weight loss and how to get. Andrew was messaging me on WhatsApp saying, eat 1 meal a day, drink black coffee. And I wasn't thinking, yeah, but no, because this book says, it's like, the guy's in very good shape. I'm not, I'm going to listen to what he says. Yeah. And it's the same with finance. If you want to make a lot of money, find someone that's done it. If you don't want to make a lot of money, no problem. Exactly. I tell people, if you don't want to make a lot of money, don't listen to me.
And the exciting thing about business and finance is there's lots of different ways to do it. If you sit at a table with 50 millionaires and say, how'd you make your first million? How'd you make your first 10 million?
Right.
You'll get 50 very different stories. Some of them may, echo each other. However, you're going to get 50 very unique stories from 50 unique people about ways they did it. Ways that you and I wouldn't even think of. I was sitting with a very wealthy man the other day, and he was just like, yeah, I'm working on a big metals deal with which African country was it? I don't know, maybe Uganda. I'm signing a metals deal with Uganda and the United States. I'm like, metals in Uganda with the United States? I'm like, I can't even fathom how that works, and the guy's richer than I am. But finance is very interesting because you could do it millions of different ways, and every single rich person has a unique story. You can't just copy and paste somebody. What you have to do is you need to adapt the mindset that we all share, because those 50 people, those hypothetical people I explained sitting around this hypothetical table with their different stories, will all have at least some very similar attributes. And that's what I've noticed. They think in a certain way.
Philosophies.
Yes, exactly. They don't oversleep. They don't sleep all day till 2 a.m. They don't waste time doing stupid things. You know? So by all means copy the mindset, but then apply it to what you want to do and what you think you'll be good at.